Assalamualaikum, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Relax your shoulders and take a deep breath. We are from Group 7. We'll present about the influences of digital media in freedom of speech among netizens nowadays. Let's get to know us. My name is Hanani binti Muhammad BAKTIAR and my member's name is NAJIHAH binti IBRAHIM. Before we go further, let's watch an interesting video.
When it comes to politics in Malaysia, no politician is safe from graphic artist Fahmi Reza, who has been using his provocative art to call out those in power.
So tell us who you are and why you are being censored.
My name is Fahmi Reza. I'm being censored for this. A missing poster of the health minister that I posted last year. But this is not the first time I'm being persecuted. Fake news law. It's easy for the government to label any communication or any satirical work as being false or being fake. So this kind of fake news law, it just makes it easier for the government to go after their critics, to silence dissent in order to keep themselves in power. I think when it comes to freedom of speech and freedom of expression, it's important for us to take a stand, to defend our right. It's in our constitution. Under Article 10, the Malaysian Constitution basically says that as citizens we have the right to freedom of speech and expression. So any forms of censorship, from the government, from the authorities, should be seen as being an infringement of our right to free speech. So I think as a matter of principle, it's important for me not to bow down to pressures and intimidation. It's important for us as citizens to be able to speak up, to expose government wrongdoing, to share information openly and publicly without the fear of being persecuted for it. That's why in countries like Malaysia, Myanmar, and other supposedly democratic states, it's important for us to protect and defend our right to free speech and expression.
We will go through all of this, so stay tuned.
In this research, what should we know about freedom of speech and expression, and also how can digital media affect freedom of speech? Basically, freedom of speech is the idea that everyone has the natural right to freely express oneself through any media and medium without outside intervention. This statement can be supported by the fact that the internet has given people the freedom to express themselves and the chance to connect with people in larger audience in online community. Furthermore, in Article 19 stated that everyone has the right to hold opinion without being subjected to discrimination. This powerful statement also recognized by international human rights law in International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights (ICCPR). However, communication must be constrained by conversion of basic decency and online etiquette in order to make the online community healthy. Always remember that when we post online, we post to the world. This is what we call the power of digital media. Before we go further, let's go through some interview videos regarding freedom of speech. What is your opinion about freedom of speech?
From my point of view, freedom of speech is everyone has right to communicate their thought without being threatened and give their perspective or comment even in a different way.
Do you think that digital media is related to freedom of speech?
Yes, in my opinion, digital media are really important for freedom of speech because nowadays online community play a big role in setting people's perspective and open the eye of the world. But I believe that without a certain guidelines, people will cross the line between the good and the bad.
Speaking of gaining the right of freedom of speech, what are the good sides that we can get from it? First and foremost, equal right for people of all abilities. This is because in Article 19 stated that everyone has the right to give opinion, which means everyone has the right to receive and convey message, hold opinion, and express themselves, regardless of age, status, ability, and communicative capacity, including people with disabilities such as person who is silent or blind and people with disadvantage, for example, underage children. As in this digital media era, it's easier for everyone to express opinion without exposing themselves directly. They can use online medium to express their thought in word, art, or literature. Netizen can use anonymous social media profile as a platform for self-disclosure. And as we all know, internet is safe space for some person with low self-esteem to express themselves. This kind of self-disclosure are vital because sometimes in order to convey political idea, religious value, and news that cannot be communicated directly.
How does freedom of speech can negatively affect individuals and society? Freedom of speech was created to encourage individuals and society to express themselves freely online without fear of consequences. However, it has also provided opportunities for those who wish to spread misinformation without fear of repercussions. Hate speech and disinformation are two broad negative consequences of digital media freedom of speech. These two can negatively affect individuals and society dangerously.
Numbers, it looks daunting. One study measured a 28% increase in hate speech in the last 2 years, including a 22% increase in discussions about violent threats. A second study found more than a third of American adults have experienced severe harassment online. A third study found that a rise in hate tweets can even be attributed to extreme temperatures. It's easy to not want to fight against such a massive wave, but that's where those who study it.
The term hate speech was invented by the United Nations to establish a coherent framework for tackling the issue globally. The UN describes hate speech as any sort of communication in speech, writing, or behavior that targets or uses the offensive language. According to HateBase, an internet application that accumulates incidences of hate speech online internationally, most cases of hate speech target individuals based on ethnicity and nationality, but direct threats of hatred based on religion and class are also on the rise. Hate speech can be expressed in any way, including image, cartoons, memes, objects, gestures, and symbols, and it can be spread both offline and online. The online persistence of hate speech components is notable due to their low cost and potential for an immediate renaissance. Because the internet is not governed by a single entity, concerned individuals, governments, and non-governmental organizations may need to contact individual internet intermediaries.
Check out this moment between Prime Minister Trudeau and Brazil's President Bolsonaro at the G20. Clips of it started circulating online, with partisan groups saying it showed a, quote, awkward and pathetic Trudeau being snubbed on the world stage. Global News tried to clarify the disinformation by tweeting a longer version of the video showing that the two men did in fact shake hands. But you'll notice that the correct information didn't spread as far as the disinformation, and that, experts will tell you, is what's wrong with social media.
Disinformation, including fake news, has become a global trend in recent years due to its explosive growth. Individuals and society can be harmed by the spread of misinformation and fake news. Despite recent advances in disinformation and fake news detection, it remains difficult due to its complexity, diversity, multimodality, and fast-checking or annotation costs. Fake news frequently contains information in multiple formats, such as text, image, videos, and so on. Satire news, parody news, propaganda news, manipulated visual content, fabricated content, alternative truth, and false connection are all the examples of fake news. Fake news on social media presents unique challenges. First, fake news is intentionally written to mislead readers, making it difficult to trace based on the content. Second, social media data is massive, multimodal, mostly browser-based, and sometimes anonymous. Third, social media users come from different backgrounds, have different preferences or needs, and use social media for various reasons. Finally, the low cost of creating social media accounts makes it easy to create malicious accounts, such as social bots, cyber users, and trolls, all of which can be valuable resources for the spread of fake news.
Next part is online etiquette, or well known as netiquette, which is a set of rules that encourage appropriate online behavior. So, let's hear what are the guidelines that we should follow as online community.
The first rule of online etiquette is to think before posting or sharing something on social media. Most people are unaware that there is some relevance to what we share online. Thinking before we post and knowing the evidence that it supports the content we are sharing, as well as the impact it may have, is critical in preventing the spread of misinformation and its harmful effects. There are several guidelines that users need to consider before posting something. First, do users have authorization? Users must respect other people's privacy by not sharing photos or information that could embarrass or emasculate them. Next, is it lawful? In the sight of the law, posting on the internet is not the same as having a casual conversation with one's friends. Even if the user's profile is set to private, users have no control over the content they post, which means anyone can use it as proof. Users need to keep in mind, don't post anything that could land them in hot water with the law.
Another point to add in online etiquette is respect people, either in terms of privacy or opinion. For instance, do not breach anyone's information by sharing any of the content that someone has made available for us. But if you want to do so, get a consent from them is a must. Speaking of which, as online community, we must also learn how to accept others' opinion with open-minded to keep the disagreement healthy. This is crystal clear that with the online etiquette rules, conversation and debate can easily disintegrate into misunderstanding.
Thanks to digital technology, our modern era is now allows for simple communication that is not limited by time or space. We now can communicate and have freedom to speak and express ourselves through digital media, the internet free. Free speech has its benefits and disadvantages, so we must know how to handle it, which is by applying online etiquette. Hence, we can have built a better community by practicing online etiquette.
That's all from us. Let's be a smart and great netizen. Thank you.